Hey guys, how's it going? So in this video, I'm actually going to be servicing or possibly replacing my cabin air temperature sensor. Now the cabin air temperature sensor is located right behind this. It's just to the left of your digital climate controls, just to the right of the steering column. And basically, when you have digital climate controls, this only applies for those with the actual automatic digital climate controls, or HVAC. Basically, the heat or air comes out at whatever temperature based on what you have it set at, and this will read the sensor. And so let's say you've got your air set at 70. Well, the air is going to blow out hot until it reaches 70 according to the temperature sensor. So if you have a faulty temperature sensor, what will happen is either you're not going to get any heat at all because it's going to think it's too low, or it's going to blast heat all the time no matter what you have this set at. And this is a common problem. And actually a common fix for it, besides just replacing it, is to clean it out, because the temperature sensor gets a lot of dust in it, and so it can misread. In my case, when I have my air on, when I have it set at 65 or whatever, it just keeps on blowing out cold air when I got the air on. And for some reason, when I've got it set at 70 in the wintertime, it just blows out hot air all the time. It's as if it can't detect the temperature very, very well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get access to this. I'm going to clean it. I'm going to see if there's any problems with it. And yeah, so that's basically it. So I'm going to show you how to get to that and possibly how to replace it. So let's get started. So since we're already sitting here in the car, what we need to do is we need to pull this trim piece back slightly. It doesn't have to come out all the way, but what we're going to do is we're going to grab it by the bottom corner here. We're going to pull out on it just like that. Put your finger over the ignition keyhole and just pull out a little bit more. Okay, now we're going to set this aside, and now we have this basically hanging here. You could go all the way with it if you want to. Just go all the way around until it releases, and then you can take it. There's a trick. You can take it and you can actually set it aside just like that. Okay, so now it's out of the way, and that actually allows us to be able to pull this piece out without getting hung up. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to get to the driver panel that is next to the instrument cluster. So this panel right here that is on the left hand side needs to come out, and you just basically take your fingers, if you've got fingers, and you just kind of wedge them in there, and the whole thing should come out relatively easy. And that's basically it for that. There's not much to that, and that allows us access to this screw that's right here. Okay, so the next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to detach the OBD2 port, or the CAN bus port. We're going to want to detach that from this piece up here. You can see that there is a little little clip here. You just basically push in on it with a flat blade screwdriver, and then this thing should just come down. I'm gonna have to do this with two hands, but just take your little flat blade screwdriver, push in, and then pull down on the harness at the same time. Alright, so as easy as that, it's now detached. No need to disconnect it or anything. So now we need to get at the 3 Phillips head screws. There's one right there. There's one right there on the left side. And then this one right here that we gained access to before. I'm going to go ahead and remove those now. Alright, so now that the 3 screws are removed, we can go ahead and pull back on this entire thing. Just grab it. I like to grab it from one side. Just pull towards you is what you basically do, and it should release just like that. Alright, so you can see how it's attached. Okay, alright, so we'll set that aside, and now we have access to, well, so this is something different. That is the hole where the temperature sensor is supposed to go. That is where the temperature sensor is. Isn't that something? So, well, I don't have any idea why that is. There's really no reason for it. This is where the temperature sensor is supposed to be sitting, so my guess is it came detached somehow and then just fell, made its way down here, So I might actually have to get this compartment out in order to get access to that. But that is that's probably one reason why my HVAC controls aren't working like they should. Nice. Alright, so I was able to maneuver it without removing the compartment. This is the cabin air temperature sensor, and this, in conjunction with the sun sensor, actually gets the temperature right inside the cabin. And mine is really dusty, so I'm trying to get focused in. Mine is really dirty, really dusty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect it. Then I'm going to clean it out really well, and then put it back in, get it into its right spot, and see if that improves things. So it's actually pretty easy to get this thing disconnected. There looks like I'm trying to find the actual harness. Okay, so it's on the inside here. There's a little notch here. I'm going to use a flat blade screwdriver. A little notch right there. Just push down on that, and the whole thing should release. Alright, so I disconnected the harness. That's how it is. Don't cut yourself. I was pulling down on it, and the end of that right there nicked me in the hand or the finger, so try not to do that. So anyway, yeah, we're disconnected now, and I'm going to bring this inside. You can probably see even better now just how much dust. Let's see if I can get a better shot of this with some more light. Look at all that dust in there. So that's pretty dirty, so we're going to go ahead and clean that out really well. Use a vacuum and a brush, clean that out really well, then get it reinstalled and see how we're doing. Alright, so I've determined that there's nothing loose in there that I'm going to suck up with the vacuum. So yeah, you can really see just how dusty this is. Remember, dust, just like a computer or any other electronics, dust will retain heat. Okay, so it's just one of those things where this will not get a very accurate reading if it's covered with dust. So we're going to go ahead and clean it out with a vacuum right now. Okay, so using a combination of vacuum and compressed air, I was able to get pretty much all of the dust out. So now we can take a closer look at this thing. You can see this impeller that's on the inside here. This impeller is actually a fan, so to speak. It actually pulls air from the top here, runs it across the temperature sensor, and then blows it out the side here. And it makes it more accurate because then what it's doing is it's taking samples of the air, seeing what temperature it is, and then making the adjustments necessary with the HVAC. So that's more efficient to do it that way than it is to just have a stagnant air temperature sensor, because then you're not sure exactly what the temperature of the air is. It's only going to be in one singular spot. Okay, so this just makes it more efficient, more accurate. So there's a possibility that if yours is bad, maybe your impeller isn't turning. It could be that the sensor itself is bad. I mean, there's really nothing you can do. But after you've cleaned it out like I have, I used, again, compressed air and vacuum, got it as clean as possible. I'm going to go ahead and hook this thing back up, and I'm going to see if it's functioning better than it did before. So that's pretty much about it for all that I can do on the air temperature sensor. Alright, so we're back out in the car, and here's the cabin air temperature sensor, all cleaned up and ready to go. I went ahead and replumb the wire here, so it shouldn't go anywhere. So we're going to go ahead and plug the harness back in now. Alright, so the harness is plugged in again, and now we can go ahead and reinstall the steering column under trim piece. I don't know what it's called, but anyway, the big trim piece we just removed, we can go ahead and reinstall that. Alright, so since my temperature sensor was actually already removed from the panel here, I wasn't able to show you how to remove it, but I'll explain it. It's really easy. I'm going to need two hands to do this. So it doesn't screw in, it doesn't snap in, it just basically lines up. So you've got these, let's get focused here, you've got these tabs right here, see that? They look like backwards L's. But you've got these tabs here, and these tabs go in these tabs or openings right here, and you just push it in. You don't have to screw it in, snap it in, nothing. You just push it in. And I'll do that right now and then try to show you what it looks like. Alright, so this is what it looks like when it's in. See if I can get focused. So that's it. It is quite literally just a push in and done deal, okay? I'll see if I can do this with one hand. I'll show you how to remove it. Basically, once you've got the trim panel down, you just take it and wiggle it back and forth until it releases. Hard to do this with one hand. There we go. So there we go. It's released now. I mean, it's that easy. It's not attached basically in any way. All right, so with the temperature sensor in and in place, we need to line up these grooves here, or these tabs here, with the grooves that are on the inside, okay? And we're gonna snap it in place before we actually screw it in place. Just line it up and push it in. All right, so when it's lined up, you'll know it'll be a little loose. I mean, it's not perfect, but that's why you have the screws that will hold it in place for you, okay? So once you've slid it in there and you've verified that it's lined up here on both sides, we can go ahead and put the screws in right now. Remember, there's 3 screws in total. All right, so with 1, 2, and 3 screws right there back in, we can go ahead and slide our OBD2 CAN bus reader back in. Just take it and push it up. That easy. So now that's back in place, and the last thing we need to do is get this trim piece back on. A little trick, if you're curious, if you take it and slide it in at an angle like this, then you should be able to line it up, snap it in. All right, so the last thing on the list is to get the HVAC trim, this dash trim here, back in, and just slide it, or turn it I should say, this way, and get the grooves in, push all the way in like that, all the way around. And the very last thing is to get your ignition keyhole back in, push it in, and you're done. All right, so hopefully this video has been helpful for you. I'm gonna be driving this thing around for a little while to see if my temperature sensor is fixed, but if you need to, obviously you can replace yours, but that shows you how to get to it. It's pretty simple. It only took about 5 minutes to get to it, and real easy to do. So yeah, if you have any other questions, definitely let me know. Take care, guys.